David Moore from the 18.com, Colorado-based website, by the way. Thanks for joining us again to discuss the World's Game, the World Cup, and finally a little breather here as we look ahead to the quarterfinal round. But first things first, David, I want to start by asking you about Team USA. They get knocked out by a 3-1 count back on Saturday against the Netherlands. I guess the question is, the U.S. got out of the group, which I think was the main idea going into the tournament, so they accomplished that goal, but they kind of got, I don't know, maybe a little disappointing on Saturday. How would you grade Team USA in this year's tournament? How would you grade the game back on Saturday?
If I could give them a letter grade on the entire tournament, I would say that the USA got a B, maybe a B minus. The goal was to get out of the group, and they did that. And they didn't play a horrible game against the Netherlands per se. They weren't blown out. On that game itself, though, I would give a C, maybe C minus. So the thing that kind of hurt me the worst was it was some of the US's best players making the mistakes against the Netherlands. On Netherlands' first goal, I think the biggest stud for the US was Tyler Adams. And Tyler Adams did not track his man back. Boom, you're down 1-0. Then the next one of your arguably better defenders, fullbacks, Serginho Dest, gets caught napping. Boom, 2-0. And that was the difference between the Netherlands and the US. Netherlands took advantage of their chances. They were clinical. USA did not. Your best, arguably best player, Christian Pulisic, one-on-one in those first opening 4 minutes. Can't put it past. And so it was your best players not doing what they need to do, and that hurt the most. But I think that's something that we've been discussing. This team is young. It's a young team, and I think their youth showed that day against the Netherlands.
Well, I guess based on what you're saying, the U.S. needs to grow up a little bit, both in maturity and age. I'm not saying that facetiously. I'm saying that I think, need to grow up for the 2026 tournament. To me, they probably need a number 9 for that tournament as well. What do you think are the main needs for this U.S. team heading into 3.5 years from now?
The number 9 situation is the big one. I would agree there, where you saw Greg Berhalter, Josh Sargent was injured, so you have to put in Jesus Ferreira or Haji Wright. Haji Wright hasn't been that impressive. All right, let's go with Ferreira. And I love Ferreira as a guy. I think he's great. But those first 45 minutes against the Dutch were tough to watch. Another area I think the U.S. will need to look at is the center back position here, because that was Tim Ream's last tournament. Tim Ream kind of came out of nowhere. He wasn't really in the World Cup roster picture there. And then he was in some great form, and he played amazing. I loved watching Tim Ream. He was borderline world class, would I say. But in 2026, he's not going to be playing. He's publicly said, I'm not going to be playing in the next World Cup. He's going to be too old. So you have Walker Zimmerman, you have Cameron Carter-Vickers. You could use them perhaps, but I think you're going to need better center backs for the 2026. We'll see how they mature in the next 4 years, but I think that will be another area to focus. I think the U.S. is absolutely stacked in terms of wingers. You have Christian Pulisic, you have Timothy Weah, you have Gio Reyna, who that was a whole nother situation at the World Cup. That was interesting. And you're going to have this next generation as well. These guys are going to be 4 years older, and now you're going to have the next batch of young 20-year-olds. So I would agree with you with the number 9, and I think center backs are going to be another key area.
And by the way, when we're talking about a number 9, just for our audience out there, a number 9 is a goal scorer, so that's a striker. I should have clarified that earlier. So the U.S. kind of seemed to be lacking a proven out-and-out goal scorer, a la maybe a Harry Kane from England, something like that. But moving things, maybe broadening things out in terms of the overall tournament, I think it's been pretty captivating. I think for a number of different reasons, some top-line storylines that stick out. Brazil looking dominant. Argentina, after that faltering start, looks like they're kind of grooving here as they head into the quarterfinal as well. Portugal winning 6-1 with Cristiano Ronaldo on the bench for the majority of that game. Morocco getting to the quarters as well. What's your top-line storyline from this tournament so far, or maybe storylines so far?
One thing I have liked and enjoyed is I've noticed almost every single soccer fan, casual, expert, who is not part of South America or European team fan base. A lot of the people who are rooting for underdog, we're all getting behind Morocco. I say we because that's myself included. I love the underdog story. And there were plenty of underdog stories in that group stage that I enjoyed watching. I thought Japan was a really solid team after watching them play the U.S. So to see them top their group above Spain and Germany made me so excited, and had my heart broken when they lost in penalties. I wouldn't. One thing I am kind of surprised about is the off the field stories. That was a big focus before. We're like, is this going to be a fire fest? What is this going to be? And we haven't really heard much of off the field stories with Qatar. So that was something that a storyline that didn't happen that surprised me. But on the field, Mbappe looks crazy. Ronaldo being benched, that's a whole saga that's going on. Messi in Argentina are looking good. Brazil look, for lack of a better word, am I allowed to say sexy on air? Is that one that can
Yeah,
go on
yeah, you
air?
can. Yeah.
Well,
Oh, they're
Brazil's
fun
goals
to
against
watch,
South
man.
Korea.
Oh,
I just watching them. I would watching Brazil and then watching the U.S. I saw that and it's very clear we've got a lot of growing to do. I would love to see the U.S. play like Brazil did, but Brazil has looked great. So a lot of fun storylines, and I think it's kind of reaching a fun climax here. Now we're getting some of these. We have England versus France. The big title contenders now are meeting each other. So I think it's going to be very exciting going forward.
for what it's worth, Thanksgiving was Brazil's opener, and I had to tell my mom I was on the East Coast visiting my mom, and I had to tell my mom, look, Brazil's playing. I'm stopping everything I'm doing, and if we could delay our Thanksgiving dinner till after Brazil plays. And the way Brazil has played so far, that's what makes them such a showstopper in my view. Is these beautiful goals that, especially Richarlison scored, but no matter, I think those are some great top line takeaways. David, who's your MVP from the tournament so far?
MVP from the tournament right now. I mean, we could say the only guy who scored a hat trick, Gonçalo Ramos on Portugal with one game. That's a bold take. He started one game, but I mean, at this rate, he's the only guy with a hat trick. MVP so far. That is a really good question. I think an obvious choice people want to go with is Lionel Messi. He's led Argentina to some big victories. They had their backs against the wall against Mexico there for a little bit. They've lost against Saudi Arabia. They're going to bounce back. Messi scores, reignites his team. Against Australia, he gets that opening goal. So it looks like Messi's been playing really well. If Messi leads Argentina to the title, they're going to give it to they. It's almost poetic. You have to give it to Messi. England have been looking really good, but Mbappe too. It's hard to say, especially this early, because it's really going to depend on what happens in the last games. Now I almost want to change because I just remembered Kylian Mbappe, and he's just so fun to watch, and he's been scoring. So yeah, no, I'll put my ballot in for Mbappe right now for MVP.
And isn't it fun that there's that generational change? This is Messi's last World Cup, and I think Mbappe trying to maybe stake his claim to the, I guess, heir to the world's best player title. With Cristiano and Lionel Messi, with likely both of their last World Cups, maybe Mbappe taking in that turf of I'm the best player in the world now.
In my opinion, bittersweet is definitely the best word to
Yeah,
describe it. I know a lot of on TikTok, I see a lot of people kind of my age, young to mid 20s, having just age crisis where we're looking at the clock and being like, this is it for Messi and Ronaldo. It is nice to see the next generation coming up, but I know none of us want to see Ronaldo and Messi go home.
no doubt about that. I guess looking back on what we've seen as well so far, I mean, it's been a fascinating, captivating tournament in a number of different ways. But biggest surprise so far, would it have to be Morocco? You mentioned them earlier.
Biggest surprise that's still in the tournament is Morocco for sure. Some of those upsets in the group stage, that Saudi Arabia upset against Argentina. I woke up at 3 a.m. for that one and thought I was still dreaming. It's like, this is not happening. This is unreal. And there were a lot of great upsets in surprises in that group stage phase where you had Tunisia beat France, albeit France's B team, but Tunisia beat France. Wow, Cameroon beat Brazil. So looking at those results looks crazy because I actually wrote an article, which I actually am going to have to do a follow up, an apology article. I wrote an article of the 4 teams in the tournament who will not do anything. These 4 teams are the worst teams in the tournament. Saudi Arabia, they beat Argentina. Tunisia, they beat France. Cameroon, they beat Brazil. And my 4th team, who I argued was the weakest team at the tournament, was Australia. And the Socceroos go to the round of 16. So I need to follow up with an apology article with those teams because that's great. But as of the teams that are still in, Morocco is the team I am getting behind. They are my go for it. I think they stand a chance against Portugal. It's not a massive chance, but they've topped their group. They slayed Spain. And now I want to see how far they can go because they're only the 4th African team that has ever made it to the quarterfinals. And if my memory serves me correct, no African team has ever made it to the semifinals. And so that would be a huge historic moment. And the storyline that I want to follow the most is, can Morocco become that first African team to make it that far in the tournament?
Fascinating indeed. Fascinating storyline. By the way, I want to talk about the fact that you've watched every single game of this tournament so far. So you were also in Qatar about a month ago before the tournament. So not to hype you up too much or anything, but you might be the best single person to talk to about this. What's been the best game of the tournament so far?
Best game of the tournament was technically two games at the same time, if you ask me. I was watching with everybody here at the office, and it was in the last stage of the group stage where both games are played at the same time. And it was when Spain and Japan were playing each other, and then Costa Rica and Germany were playing for each other. I saw a graphic that showed how the table of that group changed per minute. And it was every single team in that group in that hour and a half span of soccer was either qualified or eliminated at one point. And there were three magical minutes there. It was in the 70th to 73rd minute, if it serves me, if I remember correctly. It was that Japan was top of the group, and then Costa Rica had gone up 2-1 on Germany, with Costa Rica second in the group. And I think I bruised my hand from punching the table so much in excitement. I was watching with everyone here at the office, and we were losing our minds. Just, is this really going to happen? Is Japan and Costa Rica going to go ahead of Spain and Germany? That was so much fun. And obviously the USA games were plenty of fun as well. I'll be the first to admit it. I cried after the USA beat Iran. It was a very special moment, a moment I've been waiting 8 years for. And I think about, everything that's happened in my life since the last time I saw Team USA do something in a World Cup like this. So that was obviously a special moment as well. But if we're talking pure entertainment, I would do those two games with Spain and Japan and Germany and Costa Rica.
So a lot of special moments so far. Let's look ahead. Quarterfinals starting on Thursday, I should say on Friday. And you've got some pretty intriguing matchups. You got Argentina, Netherlands. You got Brazil, Croatia. You've got England, France, which could have easily been a final in some tournaments. Then you've also, of course, you mentioned Morocco and Portugal. What are your picks in those four games, and what are your picks for moving forward from that as well?
It might look a little chalky, but I will take Argentina over the Netherlands, which I think is going to be a great game because just how solid the Netherlands are defensively. The U.S. learned that one the hard way. But I'll pick Argentina. Croatia, Brazil. Croatia doesn't have that flair they had in 2018. I'm excited they've gotten this far. I congratulate them. However, Brazil will beat them. I will say it, Brazil. So I'll have Argentina, Brazil going through. England, France, like you said, is basically a final, and will, in my opinion, is the most entertaining and engaging game or attractive game of this quarterfinals. So England, France is going to be a showstopper. I will take France though, even though they've had their injuries. I think they are the better team. I'll take France going through. And in the last one, Morocco, Portugal, it's super fun. I will take Portugal, but just know that my fingers are going to be crossed that I'm wrong and I can get Morocco. And so that would set up a semifinal of Brazil, Argentina,
Wow.
which is an unreal semifinal. I wish that could be the final. They played in Copa America year or two back. I think that was last year, actually. Argentina won, and I will take Argentina again. I'll take them again. I think it's written in stars that Messi's going to go to the final. Brazil are incredible. I've loved them, watching them, but I want to see Messi in the final. And that sets up the other final of France and Portugal, or semifinal, I should say. France, Portugal. I know the world wants to see Messi, Ronaldo in the final, but Mbappe's too good. So France, it's going to be France, Argentina final.
And who wins that?
That is a good one. That one's a coin toss for me. But I made a bracket. I made a second chance bracket, and in both of those brackets, I had Argentina win it all. And so I'm going to stick with my pick of Argentina taking it home.
Wow. And wouldn't that be something? So, well, 8 more games left in the World Cup, and I'm sure there's plenty more excitement yet to go. But David Moore from the 18.com, by the way, again, as I mentioned earlier on, Boulder based in the 18.com. So appreciate you joining us here on 90s Plus and giving us your insight about this wonderful tournament that's been, and I'm sure plenty of wonderful games to come. Thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you.